Okay, here is the speed run of the Excel Esports case Sommelier. If you want to learn about the lambdas or getting started in Excel Esports, please see the links in the video description. For this case, I'm going to make some tables, right? So Control T, right? We'll call this table customers, and we will call this table, Control T. We'll call this table lines. All right, so now I'm going to use my label lookup, right, on the lines, on everything of the lines, right, including the labels. I'm going to look up the line and then the attribute to get the answer to that. Now I'm going to, I still need to know how to do this, right? So I'm going to copy this over here to look up the wine in the attribute. Now I'm going to do, that's the wine in the attribute. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the customers, except I'm going to look up the customer's name in the attribute, right? And then the absolute value of the difference is the answer to level 2. All right, so for level 3, I want to look up this entire attribute here to find the best wines, right? So first of all, I'm going to look up, the answer is going to be the wine's name, right? So I need the wine's names. Now I'm going to look up the attribute name on the headers of the wines, right? So I look this up on the headers, returning on the data for the wines, right? So there is the data for the wine. And then I want to find the one that's closest to what this customer wants, right? And then the customer lookup is the same as it was before. So here is what the customer wants for that attribute. And then this minus this locked is the score. Now, not just minus, but the absolute value of this minus this locked, right? So I want the lowest absolute value, which I'll use my smallest lambda to get the smallest of this and return on the wine names, right? And then for the next one, I want to look at all of the attributes for the wines, all right? So why don't I put the entire wines table here, right? So if I start with the entire wines table, all data, and I also need to know what the customer wants, right? So I'm going to look up on the customer data. So XLOOKUP, looking up the customer's name on the customer's name field, right? And then returning the customer's data, right? So then I'm going to get all the data for the customer. Looking up the customer's name, which is there, not just the word customer. Oh, mouse getting misaligned. So yes, not just the word customer, but the actual customer's name. So now the difference, right, is the sum of the ABS of this minus this, right? Just do this, it'll do this all array-wise and give me what I'm looking for, as long as I keep this locked like it's supposed to up at row 17. And then again, I want the, oh no, I'm just looking for one, right? I'm not looking for the smallest yet. So I look up the wine on this wine list, returning whichever one of these is the smallest. And that is right. There's just something funky with the answer there. But I'll bet it's right. Yes, all this is right. I don't know why this, it's 161, it says. But everything else is right so far, right? All right, so now I'm doing what I thought I was doing before, right? Which is looking up the best wine, right? Which is the smallest value here, returning on the wine names here. Okay. And then for this one, I want to do it as a score. So I got to look up this score table here, right? So let me just gonna move this over a little bit. And then I'm going to grab this score table and put it here just so I have it to refer to. And then instead of summing up the absolute values, I'm going to XLOOKUP the absolute values on this minimum locked, returning on the score locked, nothing if it's missing, and then -1 to find the match that is closest or less than. Then sum those up, and that should be the score again, right? So it's just, smallest of this, but I gotta, line it up correctly here. Oh no, I'm looking for the number. So I'm looking up the wine on the wine names, returning on the score totals here, like that. Right? And now this time I'll bet I'm going to be looking for the smallest one, right? Yes, I am. So now, I mean, this is all set up already. All I want is just the smallest on here, returning on here, which is good. And then level 8 is the same as this, but I got to do the price. So it's what, 5 times well, that's a score, right? So it is 5 times the score plus the price, right? And then I pick out the best wine, which is again based on the smallest lambda, except I got to make sure it's not the smallest score, but the smallest score with the price taking into account. Looks like hopefully we have 1,000 points so far. Let's see. Yes, we do. How many customers are not listed in levels 2 to 5? All right, well, we got to look. Tricky part about this is only 2 to 5, no other levels. So I just pull out 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? Those are all the customers. Here, I've got them highlighted already. So I'll just make a frequency table. And now on the customer list here, I can just look up the customer's name. On here, returning here, that's the frequency of how many times they appear. So the ones that are in A, 44 of them, are the answer to this question. One number appears the most among both customers and wines, right? So if I look at, so let's, VStack the customers data and the wines data. Let's put those all in the same place here. And those other numbers I don't need, the prices I don't need, but those are the ones I need. So I do the frequency table and I find the one that's most common is the one I have highlighted here, which is 92. Level 5 rules to get the best wine for all customers. So let's use level 5 rules to solve bonus 3. Let me get, instead of the problems here, I'm going to have the customer name is going to go here. And instead of looking up on the problem, we're just going to I'll take the first customer's name and paste values. And now it should be fine to do my what if table, right? Based on that customer. And now if I do the frequency table of this, that should tell me whichever one is the most common. That one appeared 7 times. I think it's a name I'm looking for. Yeah, it's a name. Riddle games 127 to 140. All right, well, I'm gonna bring this down here. 127 to 140, offset by the game number. So it's the first character left of all this. Then offset letter I have as a lambda already. So this by the game number is that, which is a Andrew Nagalier, combination of Andrew Nye and Sommelier, is what Peter the Case Author was going for there. What's most expensive wine across all possible pairings? So let's test again every customer and just find the worst wine for them, right? So this can be bonus 5. I'm going to test every customer, test every wine for every customer. So I need customers, customer name, and then that's just going to go, here instead of looking it up. And what I need now is not the best, but the worst of these, right? So the maximum. And then I do this for column input cell, right? And then the maximum of this is 997, stop. All right, 11 minutes, 36 seconds. Thank you. Bye.